Welcome to Atlas Leadership Academy, where our goal is to offer world-class leadership to influence worldwide change. My name is Marianne Owen. I am the Executive Vice President for Atlas Leadership Academy and the Director of Marketing and Branding at Atlas Realty Group.
My name is William King. I'm a PhD candidate in business leadership and a CEO of Atlas Realty Group. Additionally, I am a Maxwell facilitator, coach, and speaker. Today we'll be discussing conflict resolution part 2. Now, last week we discussed 18 qualities every leader should have when attempting to resolve a conflict. This week, we'll discuss conflict management skills.
Wonderful.
Now, getting into conflict management skills, we were just having a conversation earlier before the video started, and I asked, what is the difference between conflict resolution leadership qualities and conflict resolution management skills?
Right.
And what I've come to learn, Marianne just taught me so kindly,
Yes.
is that conflict management skills is the same thing as conflict resolution leadership qualities. In fact, you cannot have one without the other.
Right. They're one and the same.
They're one and the same. So, for example, the first quality that every leader should have when attempting to resolve a conflict was, what was it?
It was curiosity.
Curiosity. That's
Yes.
right. Now, the first management skill you should have when trying to resolve a conflict is asking thoughtful questions.
That's right.
So you guys see how these can go hand in hand, the conflict resolution leadership qualities, along with the conflict resolution management skills.
Right.
Now, before we dive into the rest of those management skills, I would like to ask you, Marianne, what is conflict in the workplace and why does that often happen?
Well, conflict in the workplace often happens because, everyone is different. Like, you've got different people coming from all walks of life, right? And, they have different interests, different desires, different opinions, different beliefs, different ways of doing things, different points of view. And then sometimes with all of those differences, if there's not, what am I thinking?
We're at war.
Well, you can be at war if there's no clear communication. That's what I was getting at. Thank you. So if there's not clear communication and everybody having, finding that common ground, then conflict can arise because everybody is looking out for themselves and then looking to have their interests heard. So that's where conflicts can happen, and also sometimes cross boundaries and unfulfilled expectations. So, that would be a big one for me, to where I'd be in fight with somebody to where they'd say they're going to do something and then they don't do it. Oh,
You always want to fight.
always. And that's not true. I don't always want to fight. Don't listen to him. I don't always want to fight.
So you're saying anytime we don't agree, anytime we have opposite opinions, it's considered a conflict.
Technically, yes, it is considered a conflict. It doesn't necessarily have to come to, fisticuffs, but just having opposite opinions and not a way to necessarily come to a resolution on your own, that is conflict.
Okay. And the best way to resolve these conflict, number one, these are the management skills, is by asking thoughtful questions.
Correct.
Now,
That's when somebody's coming in is like, okay, I need to mediate. This is what the mediator needs to be able to do.
so every single conflict needs a mediator?
I wouldn't say that.
Or is it important to kind of look at this situation from a bird's eye view and take yourself out of it and just look at the actual conflict?
So if we're talking about people resolving their own conflicts and then looking at another issue where someone has to step in to be the mediator to resolve the conflict, like, those are two completely different scenarios. But anybody that is resolving the conflict should have these skills. I'll say that.
So what does asking thoughtful questions look like?
So why are you upset?
Well, I'm upset because my lunch break is over at 1 and I think I deserve a 2-hour lunch.
Okay, and when did you decide that you deserved a 2-hour lunch?
Because I feel like I need 2 hours to eat.
Okay, I don't know, what is the company policy?
Oh,
What is the company policy?
Oh, the company says 1 hour.
1 hour, okay. And did you speak with your manager before you decided to take a 2-hour lunch break, just to let them know where you were or what was going on?
I'm the boss. Good job. Good job. So good job asking
Then who you mad at?
Good job asking thoughtful
You're
questions.
trying to get me to fight on camera?
Yes,
Is that what it
no,
is?
I don't want you to fight
I
on
think
camera.
it is.
Okay, good job asking thoughtful questions. So you guys saw how she kind of we came up with a random scenario on the go. But she showed you how to ask thoughtful questions. You know, at the end of the day, a lot of times when it comes to conflict, if you ask the right questions, the person will resolve the conflict on their own. Because as you was asking me those questions, you said, well, what does the company say? And I say, well, 1 hour, you know. And so I pretty much answered my own question. So regardless of how I felt about my lunch break or not, the policy is 1 hour.
Right.
You know,
And
so
you know that policy.
right, and that conflict could have been resolved relatively easy just by asking thoughtful questions. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
The next conflict management skill includes responding to anger in a calm way, and this is something that a lot of people have challenges with. Responding to anger in a calm way, because a lot of times what you put out, I'm going to give it right back to you.
That's correct. Yeah,
You know.
it's the whole air of we're matching energy is what they say. So
Energy is always reciprocated.
that's right.
So if you notice there's a conflict, I think it's important to be the bigger person to realize there's a conflict and remain calm.
You have to remain calm.
have
If
to.
you are, if you're the leader and you expect people to follow you, you can't respond in kind.
Right.
You have to respond at an elevated level. Like, Michelle Obama said, you have to go high when they go low, and then just make sure you're upholding the standard.
I understand. I was talking to, I think my mom the other day, and she said she had a conflict at work, and she told her peer, she says, I could be Michelle Obama or Cardi B, which one you want? I'm not sure that's a good or a bad thing, but
Whoa.
anyway, on to the next conflict management skill. Being flexible and coming up with solutions that work for everyone. So flexibility in conflict is very important because, once again, the conflict first arises because we didn't see eye to eye. We had
Right.
two different opinions. So if you can become flexible and come up with a solution that's a win-win for all parties, then the conflict can be easily resolved. I think that's easier said than done too, because a lot of
It
times,
is.
a lot of people look at a situation and they want to defend their own position and not necessarily come up with solutions to assist someone in their proposition.
Right. I do agree with that. And then, also understanding the point of resolving conflict is for everybody to kind of compromise. And then let's all give a little bit so we can all get to the same place.
Right. I think it's important whenever you have a conflict is first to establish a goal.
Yes.
If you got two real mature parties that understand that there's a conflict, like before the conflict is even resolved, let's say, hey, what is the goal? Do we want to come to an agreement?
Right.
Are we looking to resolve this, or are we just looking to vent
Right.
and agree to disagree? Because an agreement to disagree is not necessarily a solution to a conflict.
It's not like we learned last week. It's not.
Yeah. So I think it's important to understand the goals of the goal of the outcome of the conflict, but more importantly, once the goal is established, you have to be flexible and hear someone else's opinion or someone else's solution so we can try to develop a win-win for both parties.
That's correct.
Now, the next conflict management skill is remaining objective when listening to two parties involved in a conflict.
That's right. So that would be for the one that is mediating. It's like you can't, take one side over the other. You have to keep your personal feelings out of it and then listen to both parties to come up with like, okay, what's the best of the solutions? And you know what? Sometimes, based on what the solutions are, you might have to lean to one side. It's like, well, actually, this is the right way to do it because it,
Right.
Follows a particular system or, it's the right answer. It's not cutting corners or anything like that. So, but just making sure that you don't have like your personal feelings,
Right.
involved or just siding with somebody because you like them better and don't necessarily like working with that person. That is a no-go. Got to remain objective and listen to everybody equally.
Understand. Now, the next management skill is treating others with integrity and respect. That goes without saying. Always just tell the truth and always just respect everyone's opinion, respect everyone's voice. Do not belittle anyone because we're all adults at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Whether it's professional, whether it's personal, or whether you have a conflict with your children, respect them as such and let them know that they have a voice.
Yes.
Same thing when it comes to your peers. Respect everyone.
Yes,
And as much as you put off respect, you will get respect back.
that's correct.
There's that one saying that it really drives me crazy when people say respect is earned, not given. So if everyone is waiting
It's
to earn respect,
is given, not earned, right?
I think respect is earned, not given.
Is it? Okay.
Maybe, I don't know. But I think it's important to give off respect first before you're looking to earn it back. At the end of the day, you have to first of all respect someone constantly before you can expect it back. Because if we just walk around expecting respect from everybody, you can end up being a lost soul.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. I was sitting here thinking if I agree with that still, because
What
it
do you
is
think?
like an old kind of saying to where it was more like, respect your elders
Right.
just because they're old.
Correct.
But I don't necessarily believe in that anymore to
Correct.
where it's just like, but thinking in terms of like myself, I do give everyone the same level of respect until they show me they don't deserve it otherwise.
I agree. Now, the next management skill is going to be being patient, not rushing into conclusions. That's very important to know. Patience will win any game.
Yeah.
And that's because you don't have to necessarily rush into a conclusion. This does not have to be solved within the next 5 seconds.
Correct.
Because if both parties involved in a conflict want to have their side heard.
Mm-hmm.
So give them time and opportunity and space to put all of their feelings out, to put their facts, their evidence, everything, whatever it is they're defending their position about. Give them time to put it out in the open.
Mm-hmm.
And then actively listen before you respond.
Right.
You know, that's where patience comes in at. While allowing someone to just talk, and you're thinking in your head, are they done yet?
Mm-hmm.
But that's the wrong way to think.
It is the wrong way to think.
You need to be listening.
Yes.
That's
and not
exactly
be
what they're
on the
saying.
defensive, because
Correct.
sometimes you want to hear what that person has to say so much. You're
Yeah.
almost like pushy,
Right.
you know, and it's like, tell me what you think. And then bombarding them with questions before
Correct.
they have a chance to even
Yeah.
get all of their thoughts out. So, yeah, I totally agree with you. Being patient, you know, having temperance,
Right.
leaning back, you know, controlling yourself, and giving people space to,
Right.
you know, express themselves. I agree.
The one thing that people have to really understand when you're working together on a team or even inside of a family function is that you don't necessarily have to defend yourself against your teammate.
Mm-hmm.
And once you really accept that and realize that, I think conflicts can become resolved relatively quickly. To know that, Marianne, you are my business partner. I don't have to defend myself against you because I know you're on my team.
Mm-hmm.
Because overall, we have the same goal,
Right.
right? So whenever you say something, I don't need to defend it, what I feel, because I know you're not attacking me.
Right.
You know, you're not on the offense. You're just offering an opinion,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I don't have to defend myself. So I think it's important as humans altogether to realize whenever you're working on a team is that you don't necessarily have to defend yourself.
That's an interesting thing that she said there. So we need to get into make a delineation here to where it's like you don't have to defend yourself, William King the person,
Correct.
but you may have to defend your position.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
That part I will push to where it's like, okay, why
Yeah.
do you want to do this thing? How much does this thing cost? What are we going to get out of it? What is the return? What are we hoping to get from it? So don't be afraid of the questions
Of course.
to defend what you are proposing, right?
But-
And that's not an attack, but it sometimes. I think a lot of people like to hear yes all the time. And they don't like to necessarily, you know, be able to explain why.
Understood.
they
But
might have-
whenever you're defending a proposition, that's different from defending yourself.
Correct. That's what I was
Defending
getting
a
at.
proposition at work within a team, I don't necessarily think that's no longer a conflict.
Sometimes people take it as conflict, though.
Right.
They take it personally whenever you
And that's
push
when
and ask
conflict
questions.
arises,
Yes.
you know, is whenever we take things personally and we want to defend ourselves.
Right.
And I'm taking your opinion as, okay, you don't listen to what I'm saying because you don't like me. Or whatever
Right.
the case, I don't know, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
what I was getting at, to where it's like, you know, people need to make sure they're separating that whenever somebody is pushing, you
Correct.
know, and trying to get understanding or asking a bunch of questions or making you quote unquote defend your position on a project, a thing that has to do with business.
Correct.
That's not a personal attack.
Correct.
That's not somebody, you know, questioning your integrity. It's not somebody questioning, you know, how smart you are or anything like that. You have to learn how to separate.
Absolutely. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is showing forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to conflict management skills, showing forgiveness is very important. Excuse me. All of these things are important, but showing forgiveness, I think, can be the most important because it takes a lot to absolutely forgive someone,
Mm-hmm.
to know that this person was wrong. They tried to rectify their error, and I can forgive and I can move on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Marianne, why don't you go ahead and talk about the next few management skills?
All right. So the next one is maintaining a positive attitude. Even if things don't go your way, all the way 100% your way, because I mean, everybody should be getting something out of it
Right.
whenever you're, you know, resolving conflict. But let's just say things don't all go your way. Just know that it's for the good of the company, it's for the good of the project, it's good for the process, and everything is a win. You know, just consider everything a win, and then just think positively about it. Don't think negatively or anything like that, or, you know, just saying, well, they're always dismissing me, when that's not the case. Just stick to the facts, stick to the truth. Don't get bogged down with that negativity, and then just keep moving forward. So that's that one. Next one is using humor when it's appropriate.
That's hard.
You got to know when it's appropriate.
I struggle with that personally.
Because sometimes everything ain't funny. Like, it's just not.
Well, with me personally,
But-
I'm like an all around hapster. Man, I don't know, 90% of the time. You know.
Mhm.
So a lot of times I use humor when it's not appropriate.
Yeah.
You know. There was one time one of our colleagues called out sick from work, and he said his child was sick or something like that. And,
Oh, he
you
threw
know,
up in the car.
the baby threw up in the car, and I said, "Did he have too much to drink?"
It's like he's just like his daddy.
I said, "Just like his father." That wasn't appropriate.
It was so inappropriate.
However, I thought it was funny. But I struggle with that. I struggle
Too
with that.
soon.
I will say I'm the first one to struggle when it comes to using humor when it's appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle with that. So that's something I am going to challenge myself to work on for the rest of the year.
Very good.
Is understanding when to
You've
use
heard
humor
it here.
and when to not use humor.
Yeah.
Okay, creating a culture of open communication.
Yes.
Do you think we have that at our firm?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no.
Why do you say that?
Yes, because some people do, and no, because some people don't. And it's that simple. I don't necessarily think that maybe it should be more publicized. Maybe we should talk about it a little bit more to say, hey, you know, we want to know what you think. Even though we have put it out there, I do say we have. But whether people take advantage of it or not, or even think that maybe we're listening,
Right.
I can't say that.
Noted.
Yeah, not 100%.
Type some notes real quick.
Yeah.
Being clear, transparent, and honest. I'm sorry, would you about to say something else?
I was going to just read the next one.
Okay, being clear, transparent, and honest.
Mhm.
As it relates to conflict management skills, I cannot stress how important it is to be clear about what it is you're trying to achieve and what it is you're trying to say,
Hmm.
especially when it comes to an ambiguous topic,
Yeah.
you know, where we don't agree about. I think it's very important to be clear about what it is that you want to achieve within that topic.
Yes.
Oh, and look at the next one. Practice active listening.
Listening. Yeah.
Yeah, we just talked about that.
We did.
That's something you can work on all day, every day, no matter if you have a conflict or not. Always practice active listening. When you're talking to someone, always actively listen,
Yes.
you know.
Yes. And you have to be self-aware, because there's sometimes where you think you're a great active listener and then it turns out you're actually not.
Right.
So be self-aware. And then also, if you have people around you that will tell you the truth, listen to them too, because
Right.
they're there to tell you the truth. So, you know, do some self-checking.
Working through stress management tactics. Working through stress management tactics.
Right, right. So another reason that conflict happens is because people are just stressed out. And then,
Agreed.
you know, a small thing can turn into a big thing because it's what they say, the straw that broke the camel's back. So it's, right. And they just lose it, you know. But yes, you have to take breaths. Yeah, I mean, that really is one. Deep breaths, because, you know, a lot of times when we feel tension in our bodies, our breath gets more and more shallow.
Correct.
And then everything gets tense.
And we come off more aggressive that way too.
Yes, because everything is tense and tight. So you're automatically in fight or flight mode. That's
Right.
why you come off more aggressive. So if you are, there's 3 modes actually: fight, flight, or fawn. So if you are a fighter, you're going to be in fight mode. It doesn't matter what happens, you know, who comes up, what, you know, the paper could fall on the floor. You're ready to fight.
Mm-hmm.
Flight, you could just be like, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm ready to leave. I'm going. Bye. Peace out. I don't know when
I
I come
hate
back.
that.
Oh.
When someone just says, you know what, I'm done with this, I don't want to talk about it. Which is our next point, encouraging collaboration.
Mhm.
So back to that point of flighting. So whenever you have a conflict with someone and someone says, you know what, well, we got to talk about it.
I'm done with this. I'm
I'm
leaving.
done with this.
Mhm.
I think as a leader, it's important to encourage that person, you know what, let's just continue to talk about it. I guarantee we can come up to a solution if we spend a little bit more time diving deep into what it is that's really upsetting you.
Right, but
You know.
maybe take a little break. It's like, you know what, hold on, we're not going to run, but we will take a little bit of a break. You know, let's gather ourselves, take 5 minutes, and then we're going to come back.
Mhm.
Okay? You
Because the person that kind of went off, they already think in their mind, this is not going to get resolved. My point is not going to be
Yeah,
heard.
they
So
checked out mentally.
talking is a waste of time,
hmm
you know?
Yeah, and you don't want people to check out.
Correct.
So you gotta be able to find a way to keep them engaged. Like you said, encourage collaboration, and then going to the next one, finding a compromise
Mhm.
to where it's like, you know, I don't want you to check out. Let's stay in this. Let's work to find a solution. Let's find a compromise.
Okay, cool. Negotiating with the opposing side. This is when you're coming to terms to try to find a win-win for both parties.
Yes.
You know, so offering solutions to say, what do you think about that? How do you feel about this? If we did that, is that okay?
Will this work for you?
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the most important things that I typically do inside of every conversation, especially in real estate. I ask clients, will this work for you?
Oh, yes.
Is this okay?
That's the name of your game, negotiating.
Negotiating. Next, teaching employees how to problem solve. As a leader, it's very important that you're having these type of trainings with your actual employees.
Absolutely, because who wants to put fires out all day?
Right. And as a manager, when employees come to you and says, Jim said this and you said this, so what should we do? Come on, guys. You guys got to handle this.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's important to have separate trainings on conflict resolution and conflict management skills with your employees.
Right.
So therefore, you're not running around all day putting out small fires. You can absolutely tend to the task at hand and continuously growing the company and finding more ways to be productive and profitable.
Yes.
You know. And by the way, if anyone wants any training on conflict resolution or conflict management, please feel free to reach out to us via email or social media. We do offer trainings for small, large, or any size organization.
That's
Just
correct.
give us a call or send us an email. Next is going to be establishing a team culture founded on accountability and trust.
Yes, that's a really, really good
I know you got something to say about that.
I do. Other than I love that, and that we have really worked hard to try to do that here at Atlas. I mean, I have great things to say about it. Actually, it's
Correct.
very positive. It, it has it right there, and the bullet point there: accountability and trust. It's something that is definitely a work in progress. It is not just a one and done. You have to work on that every day. Everybody from the top all the way, across the organization.
Right.
So we've done really well, I think, in trying to establish that in our new year, and we're going to continue working on it and doing, just that going forward.
I agree. Now, this next conflict management skill is what's going to actually drive the nail through the actual 2x4.
Okay.
This is the hammer. Because a lot of people are guilty of this. Eliminating language that blames or shames others. You did this. I'm upset because of you, blah, blah, blah. Pointing fault, pointing errors, or you sucked at this, you didn't do this right, you was late, la, 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 la. Those type of words, those type of languages really, really does tear people down.
It does. I mean, yeah.
So I would like to say, if we can eliminate those type of words inside of conflict resolution, then I think we can come to a solution much faster and more effective than if I constantly wanted to blame the finger at you, because now you're personally feeling attacked because I said you did this, you did that, because of you this happened.
Right.
Instead of looking at the actual task at hand, you did perform the task, but you, Marianne, are not the task. You know what I mean? The task was wrong, sure. Then let's talk about the wrongness of the task, not me blaming the finger constantly at you and telling you how bad you suck.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because then you would immediately want to check out and not necessarily want to finish the conversation.
Yes.
Exactly. So if we can eliminate those type of language, those type of words, then I think conflict resolution could be achieved quicker and more effective.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do agree with that.
You got something to say?
I
see it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I see it. Go ahead.
I have thoughts, but I was trying to think of it from which angle I'm trying to come from it at. Definitely a leader should not be using that type of language, with their subordinates or really anyone. Nobody really should be. But in terms of thinking, like sometimes people just get pushed to a limit to where it's like, once you flip that switch, like, I don't know, like for me, if I start talking that way, you've earned it, because I feel like I am very, very patient.
But how can you say
I'm not
that
saying
when
it's right.
you got to go above and say maintain a positive attitude?
Yeah, I know.
So don't flip the switch when you got to maintain a positive attitude.
I know. That's why I was thinking about it. Like, I know. Pray for me. I'm working. Let's just say that.
And last but not least, understand that you have resources if you absolutely cannot solve a problem. Contact human resources or your manager if two people cannot, come to agreement.
Right. Right. Call somebody,
Now, one question before we wrap this up. Why do leaders need conflict resolution skills, Marianne?
Well, because conflict happens, it's inevitable, how the outcome of it doesn't always have to be negative. It doesn't always have to be bad. It doesn't always have to result in like hurt feelings or things like that. But they have to know how to resolve it, first when it happens so it doesn't get worse. And then really resolve it so it doesn't get swept under the rug. And then it continues to cycle repeat. And then also, it's about protecting your people because, and looking out for their feelings. Granted, sometimes people are babies. They don't know how to manage their own feelings. But at the same time, it's like you got to show you care. You have to show, show them skills that maybe they didn't grow up with or didn't learn, in their formative years. It's about your people. It's about being that place of safety, I think.
Understood.
And then, having space for them in order to handle the difficult times. There's lots of joy and there's lots of great things that happen in business, and then there's also some negative things. Everything has a balance. So you've got to have the good with the bad. So being able to resolve conflict is not only going to help your people, it is going to help you. It is going to not only help save your business because conflict has taken businesses completely out to where partners could not agree. Everything shuts down.
Shut it down.
Yeah, and what happened to everybody that was working for said business?
Fire.
Right? Yeah.
It's about the team. At the end of the day, one band, one sound.
Yes.
All right.
Or whatever they said.
Yeah, whatever they said. All right, Marianne. So today, as we wrap up, we were discussing conflict resolution skills. And if you'd like to know more about our offerings, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Atlas Leadership Academy. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. You can also just click the notification bell for updates. Join us next week as we continue to dive more into leadership topics and help you become a better leader. If you'd like to know more about our show, please visit the show notes in our bio. Talk to you guys soon.